All right, guys. Hello and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian, and unfortunately, I'm not here with Allison because she wasn't very clear on what the plan was. So she's actually she's out running errands, and she's not able to give the time that is required. We're gonna do a deep dive into this story on Monday. But for now, I thought I wanted to host some spaces on X, which is what I'm currently doing right now. You can see that. If you want to join the X space, if you have an X account, follow me at Badger Arcade, and you should be able to see my space and just jump in and give your thoughts on what we're going to be talking about. I hope that I get some activity right now. I just started the space, nobody's here. So I don't know if, hopefully we'll see some folks jump in. In the meantime, let me attempt to do the thing. So if you guys want to send us a message at any point during this video, you can do so through the normal avenues. That is, you can go to do a super chat through YouTube, a Rumble rant through Rumble, or you can send us the message directly, which is the best way. And that is to go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us a message. And the best thing about that is, first of all, YouTube and Google take like half or more than half of what you send. So if you don't want to give them any and that much of your money, then I understand that, then you could get around that. And also, you can send an uncensored, unedited, message, and you can make it really long if you want to. There's no like character limit. So there's nothing but bonuses if you're going to send a message anyway. Do it that way through feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Okay. And also remember, we do have our meetup coming up. It's going to be in Calgary, Alberta, September 13th. And I don't know if there's an exact address yet, but you can get the information by going to feedthebadger.com/events to like look at the actual details of what we have going on. Hopefully I'll see you guys there. It looks like Lindsay and I are going to be there. Dr. Randomcam's going to be there. Allison's going to be there. Janice Fiamengo is supposed to be there. Prim Reaper will probably show up. A lot of us will be there, and we haven't done one of these in a while because of COVID and everything. So it'd be nice to meet up with some of you guys and anybody who else will show up. Just don't, threaten to bomb the place or anything like that. Okay. So I already see that somebody's in here. What's up, Dean? Give me a wave if you can hear my voice. I don't know if my audio is okay in the space. I'm pretty sure it's fine on the stream. But I don't know about the space. So for some reason the chat's not showing up on my social stream Ninja. Let me just do a quick refresh and check it. Hello, Prometheus. Hello, John Doe. Lupricillo, whatever. J.O. Bales came from Kirsha's stream to be here. Well, I don't know if I can live up to Kirsha, but I'll do my best. Saltpeter Taffy, Matt Watson, Betty Adams, Richard Bier. What's up to everybody? So, and we have a couple people in here too. Brian from Botch TV and Dean Sneed Cola. What's up? I don't know if you guys know, but just throwing it out there, I'm going to do a shameless self-promotion. I do videos with Dean where we discuss films. We do film analysis videos on some of the movies he's got, and I have a lot to say on all of them. If you're interested in my takes regarding movies and stuff, check out his channel, Sneed Cola, or I think it's Sneed Cola TV or something like that, on Rumble. You all should be on Rumble anyway, because it is the superior platform for free speech, and YouTube is cooked. So, all right. But anyway, so why am I here? Well, there's a story I want to talk about, and I think I need to pop this window out to tell you about it. So, okay. So this is actually kind of crazy. There's a case going on at let's say there was a convention. Okay, there's like a convention for what do they call it? Romantasy. Yeah, romantasy is the name of this genre of fiction writing, and they tend to be romance novels that have fantasy elements for women. But here's the thing about romantasies, though. They're extremely sexually degenerate. Like, I mean, like, oh, look, we do a lot of fretting about pornography that men consumed, you know, that has the visual pornography to it. Women's porn comes in the form of literature, and I put that in quotes, because it's not well written. There isn't great prose. It's not, there's like grammar errors, there's spelling errors, but it's so sexually, like, it's so sexually charged that because it doesn't involve images, okay, we tend to give it a pass. We don't think that it's a big deal. But I've been doing a little bit, I've been going down a bit of a rabbit hole because I don't read, you know, romance novels, obviously. No interest in them. But I do know, because like a lot of times we run into conversations around porn and how damaging it is for young men to consume and how addictive it can be and all of that, right? But we don't talk about what the female equivalent of that is. And what is often said is that it's sort of dismissed, like, well, you know, women don't watch porn. They're not like men, right? They're not as sexual as men. That's not true. It's just that what stimulates women is different. And it's different in that it needs to, you know, they prefer the written word over like a visual display. But they definitely, like, if you know 50 Shades of Grey is like a big, you know, global bestseller, and you know what's in those books, like what kind of content there is, or Twilight, which is what 50 Shades of Grey was. It was Twilight fan fiction that someone got published. Then you know that women can be just as dirty, if not filthier, than men can be. But we don't have the same view on that. Like, we don't see women's sexual proclivities to be problematic or dangerous or, you know, pathological, right? In the same way that we do for men and boys. So, but, and I knew that was an issue because I used to bring it up all the time when people talk about porn. I'd say, well, what about romance novels? You can get those at Walmart. You can get them at like Food Lion. You know, you can get them at the drugstore, and they'll be like pretty, you know, lurid, right? And you can't really get that stuff. Now, I know that it's not quite the same, but the point is, it accomplishes a similar goal in terms of like what it does to the people who consume it. And I used to bring it up as a counterpoint all the time, but then like what I realized, or what I found out recently, is that it's gotten really bad. Like we've been seeing like a pattern of, you know, grown women preying on younger children, like teenagers, underage boys, underage girls sometimes, usually though underage boys. And again, it's one of these things that we don't treat with the same seriousness as we do when it's men preying on girls, right? And some people might say, well, it's not the same, but the problem with doing that is that the people who are most likely to be abusers are people who have themselves been abused. So if you want to end abuse, then you have to, like, you know, you have to treat this as seriously as it deserves to be treated. And just to put a little bit of context on it, you know, not that long ago, we responded to a clip of Anna Kasparian talking to Joe Rogan. And Anna Kasparian was saying, you know, men's rights activists have a point when they talk about, you know, boys being like preyed on by older women or like their teachers or whatever. And Joe Rogan has popularly said that he doesn't think it's the same thing. And he literally said in that interview that he doesn't think it's possible for boys to be sexually molested by their teachers. And I mean, I thought it was so absurd, because it's like, you know, when you, it's obviously short-sighted. He thinks, and his evidence for that, by the way, is he said, well, I had a joke about it. And it's like, yeah, that's not proof. That's not evidence. That's not data. That's you giving your opinion. So why did I get upset about that? Well, it's like, look, I want to end predation. I don't want pedophiles to exist. I don't want rapism. What am I saying? I don't want rape to exist, or sexual assault, or whatever. But like, if you really, really want to address it, you can't just address it by blaming half the population and ignoring the other half. You can't pretend as though like this doesn't happen to boys at the hands of women. Because when it happens to boys at the hands of women, those boys they will take into their adult life a mentality that was put in them by the women around them. And by the way, if a boy that's raised by a single mom is a lot more vulnerable to that stuff, not just from like strange men that the woman brings home, but also women, like that, like and it happens. Like in the Black community, there is a big problem with incest, and no one talks about it because they don't find it comfortable, and it's not as easy to rag on Black people for getting incestuous, because it doesn't fit that sort of redneck trope that people want to attribute to that. But no, it's an issue. Aunties will rape the sons of their sisters, especially when those boys get up to the age that they take an interest in them. Teachers will take advantage of students. And so going back to this romance novel stuff, I'm not saying that one causes the other, but there is a mentality of like where women's perversions are permissible. That we don't have the same stigma on women who like to read romance novels that we do for men who watch porn. So why don't we do that, and what are the effects of that? And what I learned is, first of all, a lot of these popular writers, the writer, well, they're popular in that, not that their books are good, but that they write a lot of like pornographic material for women. They came out of Tumblr, and that's the quality of the writing. Like I was never on Tumblr, but I remember in 2014, 2015, 2014, 2013, a lot of like Tumblr feminists would write these kinds of stories, and of course they were bad at writing, but they all like kiss each other's asses, so they would like gas each other up, and they would write these stories, and then some of them went on to write actual books. And the truth is that the sex sells to women. And this is another thing. It's like one of these things that we're not giving the appropriate due that women are capable of this. There was a video that I just watched today by a writer. Let's see if I can find the name. Yeah, it's called The Second Story, the name of the YouTube channel. And the video is called The Absolute Degeneracy of Modern Writing, but it is modern writing for women. And it's about 37 minutes long. I guarantee you it's totally worth watching. She writes about writing, like she's a writer, but she absolutely is disgusted with the current state of literature today, right? And most of it is this kind of smut that is aimed at women. Now, of course, this is causing a bit of there's a social, let's say, effect of this that is not really talked about, and it's not seen, because I think the idea that women can be this way is a little bit abhorrent to us. Like we normalize it for men, like we're okay with that because we think it's normal, but with women we don't want to talk about it because it kind of like it's uncomfortable, but it is true. And that brings me to what this story is about. So there's a website. I learned about this through Fandom Pulse, but unfortunately they have the article behind a paywall, and I don't have an account. I'm not going to open one just for one article. I know I've been on John Delrose's streams. I think I've had Jonathan Trent on my channel a while back to talk to him, and I'm grateful for the work that they do. But I figured there's another way to, I'm going to look for this story another way. But it was also reported on by Clownfish TV. And what they were talking about is apparently there was this convention for romantasy books called Sinners Stardust. Okay. So they had this convention. So I got this website called Smart Bitches Trashy Books up, and I'm just going to read a little bit of this so you guys can see what's going on. I'm assuming that this is a feminist website as well, so it may actually tone down let's say the severity of what happened here. But anyway, the con drama has been nonstop this year as people try to launch weekend events, and 1, 2, or 19 things go wrong. The latest is Sinners and Stardust. Sinners and Stardust is a weekend event that hosts an author signing and a dark romance ball to celebrate the readers and authors of dark romance. At the ball, apparently many, many things went very, very wrong. It was the top few trending topics on Threads, in fact. So I don't have a Threads. I don't really know what that's about. So like romantasy is basically like, what, I don't know, how do you put it? It's like I guess from what I understand, it's like women getting raped by werewolves and vampires. It's literally it's got incest, rape fantasies, and monsters. And this is women reading this, okay? Just saying, this is women reading this, and that's some of what's in it. And as I understand it, it's very rapey, it's very dangerous, like in terms of like the not that I'm problematizing it, but I mean like the content, like the characters and the situations are dangerous, and that's supposed to be titillating, right? And there's women being like, there's slavery, and there's all this other sort of BDSM-y stuff in the content, and it's very popular. It's just really popular, okay, with women. Which sounds like a paradox, but after the Me Too movement, but no, it's not that weird. All right, so look at that. So there's like an image here of a bunch of talk about it, like a screenshot. So what happened? So HD Carlson reported on Instagram that cosplayer Animus, who was in attendance, was allegedly, so Animus, I guess, is some cosplayer, and it's a dude. And he was groped to the point that his body paint was smeared with handprints. He was allegedly sexually assaulted, and he had an air tag placed somewhere or near or on his person. So, and here's a report. It's a screenshot as well. I'm going to read it really quick from HD Carlton author. So HD Carlton's an author, I guess, a woman. She says, "All right, y'all, it appears I have to make a post that I'm frankly pretty goddamn upset I have to make. This post is for the readers who don't understand consent and boundaries only. A lot of you may know a good friend of mine, Animus, who is also at Ethereal Treason, I guess. He has attended a signing, so it's a dude, has attended a signing of mine in the past and obviously is a music artist. This past weekend, he attended Sinners and Stardust and probably had one of the most heartbreaking experiences. So listen, he's a man, right? But do we think that means it's okay to put your hands all over him without consent, or to put your hands in his waistband, or down his pants, or touch his dick?" So this is all stuff that happened to this guy. He got assaulted by a mob of women at this romantasy conference, okay? Do we think it's okay to quite literally back him into a corner and touch all over him to the point that he literally can't tell how many hands are on him and whose are whose? Do we think it's okay to send him into an actual panic attack? So he apparently had a panic attack because of this. Furthermore, do we think it's okay to interrogate him and insist he detail how he'd kidnap a woman despite him repeatedly saying he wouldn't, and that, the shit is fiction? Trash talk my books to him and try to get him to join in, and then attempt to follow him when he tries to get the fuck away. He had sweat resilient black paint airbrush on his chest, so I guess he was in costume as some character, and was told the only thing that will move it is body oils. Why did this man end the night with almost all of it rubbed off and a handprint smeared across his chest? I want y'all to seriously sit with yourselves and your actions and ask yourself if you would be okay with a strange man doing that to you. And then she goes on and says, and if that wasn't bad enough, during the time of this mob, him and another author received a notification that an air tag was tracking him, which showed it on his person all the way to his hotel room. He knows how air tags work, and that close by ones can trigger notifications. This was not the case. Also, he got the notification way later because he had no signal at the event and it didn't come through until he got signal again. That is literally sickening, and I'm ill that someone might have planted a tracking device on him. You guys do know that these books are fiction, right? We enjoy these books because they're fiction. We do not condone these actions in real life, and while it's okay to act out your fantasies consensually with a trusted adult, it is not okay to ask a complete stranger to do so or take it upon yourselves to sexually assault him. I'm so incredibly disappointed that he was treated this way. I brought him into this space because I trusted that he would be safe with y'all. And the fact that he wasn't is quite eye-opening, and boy, does it affect my decisions for my own future attendances. Somebody just got red-pilled on women. I mean, like, I'm sorry, but like, why did you think this is the problem, right? This is the narrative. Well, the narrative is that if this was a woman at a convention, like I don't know, I don't even think that happens. Like at a like where a horde of men, like unless you go to like some other third world country or something, but like not in the West, not in America, and she's shocked by this. That tells you how little she understands, how naive she is about what women are capable of if they want to. Okay. Anyway, I'm so what was I saying? Especially because he was not the only one disrespected at this event by a long shot. So many authors are coming out about people crossing boundaries in a multitude of ways. I've had this conversation before with asking my husband gross personal questions. Asking my husband gross personal questions. So why are we taking it a step further and assaulting people now? I'm genuinely shocked that as a woman or woman presenting, God, this is so cringe. Some of y'all thought it was okay to act this way. And as someone who brought him into the space, I feel responsible for him. And I'm so fucking sad that some of my own readers were a part of this behavior. If this was you, please learn basic respect, boundaries, and how to ask for consent. Treat others the way you would like to be treated by a strange man. And for the love of God, please do not ever come near me in public. Animus also posted their own statement about what happened, explaining that they are not pressing charges. So there's another statement. I could read that, but I just want to just real quick drive it home. Allison has some data that said that millennial women are the rapiest generation of women, like that in recorded history since we've been recording it. And I think it comes from an sense of entitlement. This idea that only men are capable of this kind of evil, which I think it is fair to say it's evil. And of course, when they do it, we do what you're supposed to do. We investigate, and if they're guilty, we convict and we send them to jail or whatever the penalty is. And that's the way it should be. But we don't do that for women. It's not the same at all. And the problem with that is, again, like I said at the beginning, if you look at the history of rapists, if you look at the history of any rapist, male or female, they all have being raped in their, or like having their boundaries crossed in some way, but usually raped in their own history. So when you permit women to rape boys, you permit boys to rape after that, right? Beyond that. And so like you can't complain about rape culture if you're not tackling it in like a way that makes sense by also, first of all, just treating women the same as men, just like under the law, I got a Rumble rant from Noba Fan. Thank you, Noba Fan. He says for $1, what worries me is how many men and women will still act like women were somehow never this sexual until now. Never mind that what women were like during Elvis Presley and the Beatles. Yeah, I know. It's like we forgot that the Beatles and Elvis Presley would have to like, and lots of other musicians and celebrities would have to like run from hordes of women. It wasn't a joke. Like I remember they used to talk about, I don't remember who it was, but there were some musicians that were like, yeah, if they get their hands on me, I'm afraid they might kill me because it's like it's like Black Friday, like they could actually do harm, not intentionally, just trying to like touch you or grope you or whatever. And again, if it was a man, we wouldn't put up with it, and we shouldn't. But when it's a woman, for some reason, nobody thinks that they're even capable of this kind of thing. So I'm gonna keep reading, but first I'm gonna ask if anybody in the space wants to say something. You can put your hand up, and I'll try to give you permission to speak. If anybody wants to say anything, I mean, you guys could just chill there if you want to too. All right, I'll try to keep my eye out for that. Okay. So yeah, the data shows that like there's studies done on millennial women, and the oh, Brian wants to say something. Okay, let me how do I add you, give you permission? Is there a way to do that? No, that just goes to your page. Let me see, how do I do that? How do I do it? Oh shit, I gotta figure it out. Give me a second. Space settings, microphone settings. It's the space settings. Everyone, speakers. I made it that. Oh, let me see here. I'm trying, dude. I don't use this very often. I should have like figured this out before I started, eh? Space settings. Oh, I'll just say everyone for now. Okay. So you should be able to say something, Brian. I think. Can you? Oh, here we go. I got it. I got it. Hold on. I'm gonna invite you to speak. Okay. Should be able to talk now.
You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Let me just see if everybody else can. Oh yeah, they can. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that I liked your point about Joe Rogan, because I did watch your guys' show on that where you guys covered that him basically making a joke about it. And the joke that he's actually referring to is a joke that he said on his podcast where he talked about how if a female student is assaulted by a male teacher, it's considered bad. But if a male student is assaulted by, let's say, 30, 20-something-year-old female teacher, he's scored.
Yeah.
And, and I've noticed that locally where I live, I've seen that a lot. Like in the past, like couple of months, there's been stories. There was just one story of a 14, 15-year-old young man who was assaulted by a female teacher, and she was like in her like late 20s, early 30s. And it's just kind of sickening when you think about how we view pornography, just like what you said about pornography and how we view that as smut and disgusting and demeaning to women, when honestly it is, because I mean it is smut, I will admit it is, but we don't treat it the same way as, say, the 50 Shades or the BDSM, like kinky, like sexual fantasy that women read.
Yeah, I think look, I think that we can have a conversation about whether or not, we should restrict porn, ban porn, whatever. But my point is, if we're going to do that, we have to include, like, because men and women are sexually stimulated by different things. So we have to include the what women respond to too. Like
exactly.
Like, I mean, like, otherwise, I'm not saying just as some generic, like, it's just fair type of thing. I mean, like, if the purpose of it is to reduce harm for whatever reason, like if we're looking at like the downstream effects of like overconsumption of porn leads to, this or that problem. And I'm like, okay, I'll get behind all the studies that say that, but then it also has that effect on women. They just consume a different porn. That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, it's a different medium. Yeah.
It is a different medium, but it's the one they respond to. But then, like, when you think about that you can go into a Walmart and get that for women. You can't get like a penthouse at a Walmart, No. I mean, nobody reads penthouse, but you know what I mean.
You can't go to Brazzers or, whatever.
Yeah,
or,
yeah. The hub.
Simple Google search. But yeah, it's crazy because you think about it, because people talk about how easily accessible porn is now with the internet. And you guys did a show on the UK's law about how there's the protecting kids BS when it's not about protecting kids. It's about governmental control, not necessarily about protecting children. State where I live.
Well, that's the problem with any kind of government restrictions, is that you are definitely handing a weapon to the state in the hopes they use it in the way that you want, but you've still given them this power. And then, it could be this administration, it could be the next administration, but you are handing a power to the state where, if you're just like a good parent, you don't really have to worry about this stuff,
Right. And I mean,
not as much anyway.
Kids are going to be curious. I mean, you can't watch them 24/7, but I think the important thing is to educate them and to tell them that these things exist and to explain that it's not real. Like, you can't protect your kids from everything. So I think that the idea is, you don't want your 13-year-old kid watching pornography.
Here's a question. Is Collective Shout going to say anything about these books?
I don't.
Do you know who Collective Shout is?
Yeah. The radical, like, feminists. thing.
Yeah, they're
that
like
were,
the Australian like band happy
oh
feminists.
yeah, because they were talking about
Well, they loved cuties,
video
so
games. They were
they
talking
were,
about
yeah.
video games and like women, attractive women in video games, and how that's problematic.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they were,
they actually went after GTA 5 and
yeah,
what was that David Cage game, Detroit Become Human? So
yeah,
like
exactly, yeah,
their definition of what qualifies like something that is dangerous is really broad and vague, and that's why
yeah.
again you should not be going along with this from people like that, because
Oh, absolutely
ultimately
not.
it's like I always say, you know, the issue is never really about the issue, it's always about the revolution or
Yeah,
control. And
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
but
crazy
anyway
because
mm-hmm.
you've talked about OnlyFans. I liked one of the things that you brought up about I think you were talking about how men are used as competition for other women, and how like
Yes.
you were talking about like cosplayers, like the fake nerds, the women that dress up in like a simple Spider-Man spandex suit to get
Yeah.
men to, you know, goon
Yeah, and
over them
they
or whatever,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And they
That
pretend to be nerds. Like I
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Spider-Man and they wear like just the Spider-Man tights that they bought like on
Yeah.
Amazon and they
Yeah.
call it a cosplay. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
you can't defend that. Like I've seen people who put a lot of work in a cosplay. It's not really my
Mhm.
bag. I've seen people put the work in and it's like, yes, I've seen some impressive stuff, but there's a lot of thottery in
Lottery.
there,
I like that.
and yes, a lot of
I like
thottery.
that.
And so you just, and it's okay to point it out. It's okay to be like, yeah, she's just being a thought online, you know,
Yeah.
and it's for attention. And ultimately, yeah, the attention that women seek online has nothing to do with the men. It's always about the other women. They're just telling other women, they're flexing on them. Look at how many followers I have. Look at how many likes I'm getting. Look at how much I'm making on
Mhm.
OnlyFans. And it's got nothing to do with the men. They don't even give a shit about them.
No, they
So
just care about
the
what they can get out
yeah,
of them.
the men are their measuring stick. Attention is
Yeah,
the measuring stick. So and
exactly.
it's sad. It's sad, you know.
Well, it is, and like I'm glad that we got people like you and Allison that are speaking out on this. And there's been many times where I've spoken on the issues with dating and relationships with women, and
Yeah.
just this story. This young man who was groped by a bunch of women, and like I guarantee you that the men on the internet or anybody on the internet would be like, "Oh, you're a man, you should have liked that."
No,
Like,
but here's another
but
mistake they make, and Joe Rogan makes this exact same mistake. See, these guys that they say, "Oh, what are you bitching about?" Like it's hot, you know. First of all, it's wrong no matter what. Like even if the
yeah.
chicks are hot, it's not right, and that's not good. And men, they have a right to boundaries. Like the guy could be
Hmm.
married, he could be in a relationship, he could be afraid that he could allow himself to be assaulted and then get accused of sexual assault later, because that's happened. But then,
Yep.
like,
It
there's
has.
also just like on the basic level, what if these women are just fucking monstrous hand beasts? Like, what if they're ugly? What
True.
if the teacher that's banging her student is like a fucking, you know, turd blossom of like a fat ass? And I've seen that because I report on these assaults all the time. And a lot of the times these women are not attractive. They're just
No,
able to
there,
overpower boys or
there.
drug them or groom them or whatever. And you know, again, it's a really simple thing. We just treat it the same, and there's nothing to talk about, but we don't. We just
Exactly.
Joe Rogan is kind of a pervert, and I think that comes out in what he said.
Well, I
So,
mean, I mean,
you
I
know,
joke with my friends all the time, when like I joke and I'm like, yeah, I'd do something to that or whatever, but it's a joke. I'm not serious.
yeah, yeah,
Like, it's one thing if you're sitting there joking about it. It's another thing if, a woman's trying to, you know, feel you up or whatever. It's like, oh, just because, and they're like, oh, you got hard. Hello, that's gonna happen. Like,
yeah,
like that doesn't exactly mean that, it's the same argument of like, oh, to a woman, what were you wearing? You wouldn't ask a woman that because that doesn't matter. It matters the fact that she was assaulted, not what she was wearing that day.
right, right.
So if you wouldn't say that to a woman, why are you going to say that to a man just because he's a guy? Like, I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, again, we just don't treat it the same.
no.
And I think and what, you know what though, on the plus side, this incident, I think it is waking people up to that reality that, you know, and it's a simple thing. It's like, yeah, women are capable of evil as well.
Hmm.
That's all it is. Like it's a really simple thing. and yet people are allergic to it, you know, like they don't want to accept it. It's like, no, dude, this can happen. And even like attractive girls can be evil. That's another thing, you know,
You
that they keep
think?
making
I
it. Well,
mean,
what if she's
it's
hot? It's like, so fucking what?
she's hot as hell. So what? Like, you know,
Yeah,
so what? You know, at the end of the day, like I think even the hotter ones are even more dangerous because the
they could
ones that
be.
be,
They know how
be,
to
it-
use what they have. Yeah.
because they're like, oh, I look good, so I know that any man's gonna want me, or
Well,
that's
look at
what they
Amber Heard.
think. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll just use my sex appeal to get what I want. And it's funny because anytime that I bring this up, just to reiterate your point, anytime that I bring any of this up, and I talk about, because I was raised in a Christian family, so
Mm-hmm.
you know and I'm not the perfect Christian, nobody is, but like, when I always talk about things like women like obsessing over their sex appeal and overestimating how sexy and how attractive they are just because they can get things that they want out of men due to their sex appeal, and they can use that to their advantage and everything else. Then I'll often get called by women. I'll get called an incel or this or that, and it's like, why? Just because I don't want to subject to myself to being a simp for women,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and I mean, even you said, like, I can't remember what stream it was, but you said the simps have to stop doing that, like,
Yeah.
and yeah, they do. Like, guys do need to stop simping for women. Like, that
Absolutely.
that
It
is
doesn't mean
part of
it
the
doesn't mean you're
issue.
mean to them, but like,
No,
you know, just stop treating them like they're
goddesses.
fucking glass cats. You know, they're people. They make
Oh,
mistakes.
my
And
queen,
and
I
the
will
thing is,
bend
if
the
you
knee
love
for you.
someone, if you really care about somebody, you call them out. That like
Yeah.
you don't just go along with whatever. You call them
Well,
out.
yeah, and it's like, I remember one instance I talked about how my ex was abusive, and I remember I was on a buddy's podcast of mine, and I wasn't allowed to talk about it. Like, I wasn't allowed to because they they
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't they wouldn't allow me to, and luckily it never turned anything to physical. It was mostly like a verbal sort of thing,
Right.
but like, I wasn't allowed to talk about it. It's almost like you're not allowed to talk about it at all. But if you're a woman, everybody's like, tell your story, whatever. But if you're a guy, it's just like, shut up and take it because you're a dude,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the
Mm-hmm.
only and it's
Yeah, or they'll accuse you of being gay. I mean,
Oh
like
yeah, I've been
it's not
accused of
just
being gay
it's
before because of
yeah,
that.
because you
Yeah.
don't let them grope you. You know, like there's guys that in like if you're like a guy, I know I've seen it where guys are like they wear kilts, you know, and then
Yep.
women are like, oh, they immediately are like, well, are you legitimately a Scotsman? I'm gonna find out, and they go to grab their junk or whatever. And that
Hmm.
like this is like all I'm saying is that this happens a lot. This is not unusual. You know, women can be just as degenerate as men, and it's okay for us to treat them as such. But let me read more of this real quick, and I'm
For sure.
gonna invite other people to speak if they want to. Do you have any final words? I'm not gonna kick you out. I'm just gonna like
Yeah, I know
put you
that.
back in the
I just
listener
want to
role.
say thank you for what you guys do, both you and Allison, because like this, everything that you guys talk about on your shows definitely needs to be talked about, whether or not you guys get backlash. And you're
Yeah,
just the kind of guy that's like, well, I don't care. I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. I don't care. Like,
yeah,
And I talk to my friends about your show all the time, just because of the fact that people they don't talk about stuff like this. People are scared to speak out against women because of the backlash that they'll get, and it's like,
yeah,
women can just be as nasty as guys are. They
yeah,
can
for
be,
sure. I think
if not
people know
more.
that. They just let people like
They just
me
let it
say
happen.
it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, or they hope other people will say it for them, you know. But okay, so I'm gonna move you back into listeners for
Hmm.
now. If anybody wants to say anything, raise your hand. I'm gonna try and keep my eye out for that. But let me read the Animus's statement. So this is the person, the cosplayer who was assaulted. I'm just gonna predict. I haven't read this yet. I'm gonna predict right off the bat. He's probably going to downplay it because that's what like this is another thing that you see a lot, right? Would be like, oh no, I'm okay, like whatever. Let me just read this and I'll give you disabled cell. I see that you put your hands up. Okay, first and foremost, I want to thank the community for the overwhelming support since these incidences have been exposed. I also want to commend Sinners and Stardust for implementing a new guideline and rules to make events like these safer for everyone attending. Aside from the ball, I had an amazing time and at the signing, and I'm so grateful that I got to meet all of you. I would like to make it known that I'm not comfortable pressing charges, partly because there were a lot of people involved, and because of my mask, I couldn't see very well. It's impossible to remember every one of them, and truthfully, I don't want to force myself to anyway. When I was cornered at the ball, I panicked and blacked out. So a lot of that night is a blur, and I'm still trying to process it. If I'm being honest, I felt their hands better than I could see their faces. I'm new to this world, and this was my first big event, so I'm not familiar with anyone in the community outside of my friends yet. But with that said, I do not want to put myself through any more of this by dealing with authorities and trying to remember names and faces and who did what. I just want to make music, read awesome books, and continue to help support the amazing authors in this community. As for the air tag, we were unable to find out who planted it. After the ball, I undressed for bed, and by the time I was notified the next day, we had already left the hotel. We did confirm the air tag was no longer on me or in my bag. So that sounds like some shit, like Misery shit, you know, where he was gonna wake up in like, you know, Kathy Bates's bed, like tied down with a broken foot. Okay, anyway, we did confirm the AirTag was no longer on me or in my bag and was likely left somewhere in the room from undressing that night. All we know is based on the notification, it started tracking me when I was at the ball and surrounded by people, and it tracked me all the way to my hotel room, which was a different hotel in Boston and not the same one as the event. While this was extremely unnerving to find out, I'm glad I didn't see it until later. I'm glad nothing further happened that night. I'm sorry if my decision is disappointing to everyone. I know you all have asked that I press charges, and I really don't want to upset any of you by not doing so. He just doesn't want to upset anyone. He doesn't want to upset the people who assaulted him. He doesn't want to upset the people that told him that he should report it. I just wanted awareness so precautions can be put in place to protect others in the future. Situations like these are far too common, and even though I am upset it happened to me, I'm just glad to know the event is taking steps to help prevent it from happening again in the future. I hope other book events can do the same so all people feel safe. For those who say that I should have set better boundaries, in the moment when things happened, it brought back past trauma, which ultimately made me shut down and black out. I also didn't want anyone to feel unsafe or disrespected and wanted to make sure everyone had a good time, even if it resulted in me being the one to take the hit. I am sorry you feel that I should have done more, and I truly wish I did as well. Thank you, H.D. Carlton, that's the hotel, for being the voice. Well, no, I don't know. H.D. Carlton's the author, I'm sorry. For being the voice when mine fell short and supporting me through this, as well as Enes, Santana, Hawk, and everyone else behind closed doors that continue to be my support when I need it the most. And I want to thank the book community again for showing up to defend me and for the incredible amount of support. I truly was not expecting it to this level, and every one of you helped restore what those at the ball stripped from me, which is my safety in this community. I am taking some time to process and heal, and I will. This sounds like a woman wrote it. I know it's a dude, but I swear it just sounds like a woman wrote this, but okay. I'm taking some time to process and heal, and I will continue to pour my heart and soul into my music. I hope more than anything, this incident is not what everyone chooses to remember me by, and that one day my music will speak louder. Thank you, Animus. So that's the letter. And then I'll read a little bit more of this. Another author posted, I'd like to remind people that kissing an author is super uncomfortable. That's super weird. Like I like this. I've been to conventions, you know, and like if I get to shake the hand of like one of the pro wrestlers that's at those things, like I think, you know, Iron Sheik, I shook his hand once, and I was like, and Ultimate Warrior, but that's it, man. And it was it was like a bundle of nerves. Anyway, other attendees have mentioned audiobook narrators and voiceover artists were also subjected to lewd and inappropriate comments. So it wasn't just this guy. This was an issue all throughout. So there's narrators, audiobook narrators, like voiceover guys, and voiceover artists were also subjected to lewd and inappropriate comments. one attendee whose thread's name changed between Jiley Reeds and Jay Reeds before they deleted their account was allegedly a conference volunteer, and as part of their ball attire wore a strap-on dildo and flashed people with it. Reports from other attendees have included that they were asked, "Do you want to see something?" or that this person was whipping it out on an elevator with no comment. So Jiley Reeds, or Jay Reeds, I guess, is a woman that was an attendee that was wearing a strap-on dildo and flashing it at people. Jaylee Reeds posted an apology on Threads before disappearing. "Here to hold myself accountable. I am deeply, deeply sorry from the bottom of my heart to anyone who I made uncomfortable or hurt at the ball. I really, truly was not thinking clearly, and I was ignorant to the fact that it would hurt some. Something I thought was just harmless fun, where a lot of others did as well, would not be viewed the same way as everyone else. It will never happen again. Being human, we make mistakes and we learn from them. I promise this was a teaching moment. It was in no way me trying to be malicious, but I see that it was. I did not mean to be that person in any way, shape, or form." You put the dildo on and then you went to the thing. You obviously meant to do that. Like, it just own it. Stop it. I hate that I did that to anyone attending the dance. Please forgive me. I cannot say how sorry I am enough. So, all right. This convention sounds like bullshit. It sounds like it sounds like something you might see at like an actual like porno movie like event. Don't they have like award shows for those and a bunch of people show up? This sounds like it's worse than that, maybe. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I'd never go to one of those, but all right. So I think Disabletail wants to talk, so I'm going to approve and wait, I'm gonna invite you to speak. You have to accept it, and I think you should be good to go. So let me know when you. Yeah, I can hear you.
It's called the AVN Awards convention,
Okay.
or the Exotica they have in
That's
Chicago.
not. Is that what you wanted to say?
Yeah, so they have like film conventions all over. Like they have one in Chicago, and they have one in LA.
I can see the LA one, but
the one in Chicago got popular a couple of years ago because people were making fun of the guys that went to the conventions, and one guy
yeah,
got very popular 2 years ago because of it. They were just making fun of the guys that attend that sort of thing, really.
yeah.
With the whole women not understanding male boundaries, it happens a lot in clubs,
Oh
especially in
yeah,
the UK, especially in the UK. Because one time a girl just came up to me and started groping me.
really?
So
In a club?
that happened back in 2000. I want to say 5. So
Yeah.
this is when I was just starting to leave my room and go out into the wider world. Because like beyond that, I was like a shut-in. I never used to go out the house or nothing until around 2002. I started leaving the house and meeting people and stuff like that. So I used to go to this club like every month or so. It was in Camden. It was called the Underworld.
Yeah, the
I used to see my
underworld.
friend. I used to see my friends there, and then this girl just randomly came up to me and started groping me and stuff. So, and that was like my first experience with a woman, with a woman, like
Yeah.
ever. Yeah, and technically my last until I was 31. So I had a psychology, what do you call it? Um, I said, I
A
said,
what?
it had an effect on me.
Oh, you had yeah, sure. Yeah, I've
So
been I remember when I was like 18, I got groped by a prostitute just
yeah,
randomly. And I didn't
because,
know what to do. I was shocked.
because I was 19 at the time.
Yeah,
So when that happened, I didn't really tell anybody,
right.
until now, because like because I'm black and
Yeah.
nobody really sees black males as a victim.
Well, as a man, they're not going to see you as a
Yeah,
victim. Yeah, I mean
yeah. So
already. So,
because the same thing happened to Chris Brown and R. Kelly. they were abused when they were kids. So Chris Brown was
Yeah,
molested when
that's
he was
right.
8 years old. When he was 8 years old, and that's how he views women. Because when the
Mm-hmm.
boys get molested, it has a negative effect on society, and nobody's because Harvey Weinstein was molested when he was 12
Getting
as well.
groped by a prostitute is not a boast, Senior Sticks.
Yeah.
They'll approach anybody, but they're trying to make money,
Yeah,
you know.
because
Especially these prostitutes were really gross. These were like Chicago, West Side,
they're like
pregnant,
streetwalkers.
nasty. Yeah, they were streetwalkers.
Um,
They weren't like
that's
high class.
with the
You know,
with the woman
pimp was right
molesting.
on the corner watching. No, it was very uncomfortable.
With the
But
woman
anyway,
molesting. With the
huh?
with the woman molesting boys. That's how you create incels as well, because most incels
Yeah,
have been molested, but nobody really
sure.
wants to talk about that. So
No, I know they're not ready for that conversation.
because
All
I
right,
keep finding out. Sorry.
all right, Richard. Well, I'm gonna get back to the article because I'm gonna be ending this in about 8 minutes or so. So
Sorry for
thanks
being
for
sorry
thanks
sorry
for that.
sorry
What was
sorry
that?
for being long. Sorry for being long-winded.
No, it's fine, dude. No, it's fine. You're fine. It's not. I just want to give other people a chance if they want to say anything. But okay, thank you, Richard. All right. So let me get back to this again. If anybody wants to say anything, let me know. So that was his response, and like predictably, he downplayed it because that's usually what men do. They basically like, you know what, it's okay, like I'm okay, or whatever. And yeah, he's probably okay, but I don't think that's the problem. Is that you permit this, and then it'll happen again because there's no consequences. Why wouldn't they do it again to somebody else? So I got a super chat from Albatross. Thank you, Albatross, for the $2. And he says, this entire convention sounds like sheep shit. Is that a sheep or a bull? Cow shit? I don't know, but it sounds like shit. Some kind of shit. I'm gonna see if I can look at it better because it's kind of hard to see there. Yeah, water buffalo shit, apparently. Okay. That's serious. So what's the response been? She continues on this article. Mostly horror and condemnation, which is reassuring, but also, as I noted in my initial warning, plenty of victim blaming. Wow, it's interesting that this woman actually considers that there's victim blaming can go towards men. That's crazy. There's some you normalize this in your dark romance books rebuttal, which please have many seats and no, you don't get a snack while you wait. You have been battling that same bullshit accusation under many different banners. Normalizing assault is a cousin to gives women unrealistic expectations. No one, as Elliot Harlow says, runs up to George R.R. Martin and threatens him with a sword while folks shrug and go, well, he was asking for it. We don't say this crap much about men or about other genres. Actually, yeah, I think they do. This is the thing that she's not going to be able to unravel because actually, it's very normal for the things that men enjoy to be problematized in the same way that, you know, you normalize a certain attitude. What is the male gaze when it's talked about? What is it when, you know, you see like a sexy woman in a movie and then women say this is unrealistic beauty standards? Like that's literally what they accuse men of, you know, like men's media of being, which is why, by the way, they're always changing it. And they're basically like nerfing, I guess you could say. It's like they're nerfing, you know, men's content because they're saying, well, we don't want to normalize like essentially negative stereotypes about women or masculinity or femininity or whatever. So this already just is complete bullshit. And again, I don't know. I do think it doesn't really come from the normalization of the writing. It more so comes from the lack of consequences, I think, because you're going to run into people who are going to have like, you know, stupid ideas cooked up in their head because they watched something or read something. That's an inevitability. But I think that the consequences are what really prevents the behavior. There has to be consequences. So, all right. Normalizing assault is a cousin to gives women. I already read that bit. But who damn do we say it about romance and romance readers? It happens to me too when I tell people that I write about romance fiction. I was asked about my sex life on live television. Outsiders are easily comfortable crossing boundaries of conversation to inquire about sex merely because I've mentioned romance novels. Yeah, were you asked that? Were you asked those questions about your sex life by men or women? Because I guarantee I know which one it was. And the crossing of boundaries continues. I do not want to accept the idea that some readers are too fucking stupid to reliably know the difference between reality and fiction, or are so deluded as to use their fiction to excuse their unacceptable behavior, but holy crap, look at where we are. You normalize this is a feeble attempt to deflect or defend terrible behavior choices, to blame the victims and to silence them because they asked for it by writing dark romances or doing the performance that they were paid to do. That's a bit of a stretch. I think I'll leave this one. I know Allison would have a lot to say about this. Since she is a writer and she has looked at some of this god awful smut that basically women read. And by the way, this like sexual stuff, this romantasy stuff, it's the most popular genre. So it's not like women are reading like Little Women or some like, high literature stuff. They're not even reading like the young adult novels anymore, like the Maze Runner or whatever was popular, right? Like Hunger Games. They're reading like this shit. So like it's very popular with them. And I think that what we really have here is, it comes down to like if we're gonna like call it a porno problem, I think that it's a genderless problem. This is the main thing I wanted to drive home, is that if this is an issue, it's not a man's issue, it's everybody's issue. It's a moral issue, perhaps, like that we should all be like seeking something more. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the quality of writing has gone to the toilet. Nobody's writing well. There are no modern day C.S. Lewis's or Tolkien's or Tom Clancy, right? Or the guy who wrote the Hunger Games. Is that Tom Clancy? I don't even know. Not the Hunger Games, I'm sorry. The Patriot Games books, the Jack Ryan books that are really popular, right? So yeah, I think that's kind of like the main thing. Does anybody else want to say anything? Dean, did you want to say anything? Because you haven't raised your hand at all. I think you're just lurking, right? Just want to lurk. Mindless Scribbles says women experience sensuality through fantasy and men experience it through physicality. Men and women's brains work differently. Yes, thank you for saying that. That's what I've been saying. What turns women on is not quite the same as what turns men on, and so that's why there isn't much porn for women. That's like, unless you're like a couple that watches it together or something. And lesbians, they make porn for lesbians, I guess, but it probably is gross as fuck. Not the normal porn that people think about. When it comes to lesbians, I mean. Robert Johnson says there have always been degenerate flashers. Now they are wearing strap-ons. Yeah. Mangaka 92 says most Western porn is absolute trash. Hentai and JAV all the way. Okay, so anyway, let me see here. So I'll read a little bit more, but I wanted to share this mostly because of, like I said before, the sort of like double standards. Like, did you guys know about the Justin Bieber, right? So like Justin Bieber, there was a clip of him getting like kissed by Jenny McCarthy when he was 18 years old, and Jenny McCarthy was 40. So, and that was like on like an award show, right? And I'm not saying that's why Justin Bieber's kind of a mess right now. It's probably a lot of things, but I think that being normalized, that like a grown woman can just like, like basically force kiss a kid on TV, on an award show, being watched by millions of people when he's only 18 and she's 40 years old. Like that, I mean, that's, and we're just like, we just find it funny and cute, which is what we did. Then like if time passes and the guy's like covered in tattoos and he's obviously a mess, like why do we wonder about that? And again, I know that's not the only thing that happened, but that's one thing we can point at and that we know for sure happened because it was on TV, it was everywhere, and nobody seemed to think it was a big deal. So, I guess all I'm saying is that next time you see like there's a guy who's accused of like, some kind of like sexual crime, we should probably ask ourselves, not that it say, let's say, validates anything that he's done, But if we don't ask ourselves, where does that come from? What happened to him? Then we can't help to solve this problem. We can't, because we're always just going to like ignore it when they're children and then give a shit when they're adults and they become offenders. So I don't know, just something I wanted to say. But with that said, if no one's going to say anything else, I'm going to end this here. This is like, I think this is like the second time I've done one of these X spaces where we're just sort of like talking to people on X. If you guys like this kind of stuff, let me know. We'll do this more regularly. I was kind of hoping that there'd be some people to fight with me on here, but I guess nobody wants to, so that's cool. Probably because they don't have any arguments. I don't know. But Allison and I will go through this incident in more detail on Monday when she's back. I think that she's got a lot to say about it. And, you know, she tends to bring the receipts. I mean, I can get the receipts, but she tends to have them ready. So that might make for a good show if you want to see, you know, more evidence for what I'm claiming, so it doesn't seem like it comes from nowhere. I'm pretty sure Allison will back me up on everything that I've said about this. So yeah, apparently this whole Sinners and Stardust romantasy convention turned sour and people were shocked, and I was not, because I know that, you know, women can be like this too, and I think it's important that we recognize that. So anyway, with all that said, thanks guys for coming on the show. Thank you to the people who joined me on the X space. And sure, yeah, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave me a comment, let me know what you guys think about what I discussed on the show today, and please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on this episode of, I guess it was Maintaining Frame, but it's kind of an X space thing. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.